All right, let's jump into a world that you might not think is that exciting at first. Insulation work.
Huh.
But get ready to be surprised because we're going to prep you for an insulation worker interview.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's not just about putting up some fiberglass.
Yeah, you got it. We're going to really unpack what this career is all about, from understanding all the different materials to navigating those tough interview questions.
Absolutely. And we've got some really cool resources for you today.
Yeah?
We've got career guides, some interview prep materials, plus we'll be talking about how RoleCatcher can give you an edge
Yeah.
using AI.
Yeah.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll be ready to impress those hiring managers
For sure.
and launch a career in this, really growing field.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important this job is.
Right.
Insulation workers are really at the forefront of energy efficiency.
Yeah.
They're making homes and offices and all kinds of buildings comfortable and sustainable.
Okay, so let's get into it. What does an insulation worker actually do day to day?
So they're problem solvers. They have to figure out the needs of a building, understand the different materials, like you've got fiberglass, you've got cellulose spray foam,
Right.
and pick the right solution for the job. And they have to install it the right way, considering things like vapor barriers, ventilation, building codes.
Oh, wow. So it's a mix of craftsmanship and building science,
Yeah,
like a building's thermal doctor.
exactly. And you know what? With energy efficiency being so important these days, the demand for these skilled workers is going up,
Yeah.
making it a potentially really stable and rewarding career.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good. Let's get into those interview questions. I know those can be nerve-wracking.
For sure.
Our sources actually gave us 9 common questions.
Okay.
So we're going to break each one down, give you insider tips to make sure you can craft some awesome answers.
Sounds good. Let's start with question number 1.
Right.
Imagine you're sitting across from the hiring manager,
Okay.
and they ask you, what motivated you to become an insulation worker?
Okay, so that seems simple enough.
Yeah.
But what are they actually trying to find out?
Passion. They want to see your passion.
Oh.
This isn't just about filling a position.
Got
They
it.
want to find someone who's truly interested
Mm-hmm.
in the field. So instead of a generic answer, go deeper. What sparked your interest? Was it a particular project you saw? A desire to work with your hands? Maybe you're passionate about making buildings more sustainable.
So it's about showing them you're not just there for any job. You're specifically drawn to this kind of work.
Right. Give them a glimpse into what motivates you, and if you can tie it back to something personal, even better.
Okay, so instead of saying, it seemed like a good job,
Yeah.
you could say something like,
I've always been fascinated by how things are built, and then I learned how important insulation is for energy efficiency and comfort, and I was hooked.
oh,
I really love the idea of making buildings more sustainable and creating healthy living spaces.
wow, that answer really shows your genuine interest, and it aligns with, what the industry values.
For sure.
Now, this is where RoleCatcher can be really helpful because it can actually help you tailor those responses
Yeah,
to specific companies.
exactly.
Right.
RoleCatcher can analyze job descriptions
Oh, wow.
and figure out what keywords and skills are most important
Okay.
to the employer. So you can kind of weave that into your answers,
Sure.
showing that you've done your research and that you're a good fit.
It's like having a personal resume and interview coach
Exactly.
all in one. Okay, let's go to question number 2.
Okay.
This one's a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
What is your experience with different types of insulation materials?
Yeah, they're testing your knowledge with this one.
Okay.
It's not enough to just list off different materials.
Right.
You need to show that you understand their properties and applications.
So they're looking for more than just a memorized answer.
Right.
They want to see that you can actually apply your knowledge on the job. What kind of follow-up questions do you think they might ask?
They might ask something like, when would you use fiberglass versus spray foam? Or what are the advantages and disadvantages of cellulose insulation?
No.
They might even give you a hypothetical scenario and ask you to recommend the best material.
So you need to be ready to explain not just what you know, but why it matters in a real-world setting.
Exactly. Think back to projects you've worked on or studied.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready to explain the unique qualities of each material
Okay.
and give examples of when you would choose one over another.
So a good answer might sound like,
I've worked with lots of materials, including fiberglass bats, blown-in cellulose, spray foam, Fiberglass is versatile and cost-effective, but in a situation with a bunch of nooks and crannies, spray foam is better because it expands and seals gaps.
Oh, okay.
On a recent project, I recommended spray foam for an attic renovation because it provided better air sealing and a higher R value than traditional fiberglass.
Okay, that's a great example.
Yeah.
You're not just listing materials, you're showing that you understand
Right.
their properties and how to pick the right one for the job.
Yeah.
And remember, RoleCatcher can give you that AI-powered feedback on your answers, so you can fine-tune your responses and really nail those technical details.
Exactly. Practicing with RoleCatcher can really boost your confidence and help you figure out any areas where you might need to brush up your knowledge.
Awesome. All right, question number 3.
Okay, this one is important. What safety measures have you taken while working with insulation materials?
Okay, this seems pretty straightforward. They just want to know that I'm responsible and that I follow safety procedures.
Right.
Is there more to it than that?
Absolutely. They are assessing your commitment to safety, which is like paramount in this field.
Yeah.
Working with insulation, you're dealing with hazardous materials, heights, confined spaces,
Right.
the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So they're really looking for someone who not just follows the rules, but really understands how important safety is. They might ask follow-up questions like, what kind of personal protective equipment do you use? Or how do you make sure the work environment is safe? So be prepared to give specific examples of safety protocols that you've actually followed.
Okay, so instead of saying, I always wear safety gear, a better answer would be something like,
Safety is my top priority when I work with fiberglass.
Yeah.
I always wear a respirator mask, gloves, and long sleeves to prevent skin irritation and avoid inhaling it.
right.
When I'm spraying foam, I use a full-face respirator and a protective suit, and I'm super careful about ventilation.
Yeah?
I
Okay.
follow all of the manufacturer guidelines and take extra breaks when working in confined spaces.
Wow. That answer shows that you really understand the risks and that you're proactive about being safe. And this is where RoleCatcher can be helpful again, because it can analyze
Yeah.
job descriptions to see if safety is a major concern for a company and then help you tailor your answers to that.
Exactly. You can use RoleCatcher to make sure your answers fit in with the values and priorities of that company.
Awesome. All right, question number 4. What do you got?
How do you ensure the insulation is installed correctly and meets the project specifications?
Okay, so this one seems like it's about quality control
Yeah.
and attention to detail. What follow-up questions might they ask?
So they might ask, how do you read blueprints and specifications? Or what do you do to avoid gaps or compression or settling of the insulation?
Ew.
They might even give you a situation where the insulation needs adjustments because there's unexpected obstacles.
So they're not just looking for someone who can follow instructions. They want someone who's thinking critically and making sure the job's done right, even when it gets tricky.
Exactly. Be prepared to show off your problem-solving skills and how you can adapt to different situations.
Okay, so a strong answer might sound like,
I always start by thoroughly checking the project specs and the blueprints. And during installation, I use tools like a level and measuring tape to make sure everything is accurate. And I always look out for any problems that might make the insulation less effective.
yeah.
Once, I noticed a section of insulation had settled, so I went back and added extra material to make sure it was the correct thickness.
Wow.
Catching those details early is really important.
Yeah, that answer shows that you're careful and proactive. And remember, RoleCatcher can give you feedback on your answers to help you refine them and highlight that attention to detail, which is so important for insulation workers.
Absolutely. Using RoleCatcher to practice can give you a huge advantage.
Awesome. Okay, question number 5. What is it?
This one's about your hands-on experience. What is your experience working with different types of insulation applications, such as bat, blown-in, or spray foam?
Ooh, this is getting into the actual work.
Yeah.
What do they want to know with this question?
They want to see how much experience you have
Oh,
and see if you're comfortable with different methods of installing insulation.
Right, because it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly. Different techniques are used for different situations.
Okay, so what kind of follow-up questions might they ask?
They might say, tell me about a time you used bat insulation. What were the challenges? Or what are the pros of blown-in insulation for existing buildings?
Okay.
They might even give you a scenario and ask you to choose the best method.
So it's not just about knowing the names of the techniques, but you need to be able to explain their pros and cons and when to use which.
Exactly. Think back to projects you've worked on.
Okay.
And be ready to describe the specific techniques that you used and why.
So a good answer might be,
I've worked with all 3 major application types. Batt insulation is good for new construction with open wall cavities.
Mm-hmm.
Blown-in insulation is perfect for adding insulation to existing buildings without having to tear down walls.
Oh, cool.
And spray foam is the best when you need a tight seal and high R value, like for attics or hard-to-reach areas.
Okay.
I once worked on a historic renovation where we used a mix of batt insulation in the walls and blown-in cellulose in the attic. That way, we could keep the building's character but still improve its energy efficiency.
That's a great example. You're showing that you understand the different techniques and when to use them. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can analyze your answers and tell you how to make them even better.
Yeah, it's a great way to fine-tune your responses and focus on the skills and experience that are most relevant to the job.
Yeah, I love that. All right, question number 6. Bring it on.
Okay, here it is. What is your experience working with different types of insulation equipment, such as foam guns, blowers, or cutting tools?
So they want to know about my hands-on skills and if I'm comfortable using the equipment.
Right.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask?
Well, they might ask, tell me about your experience with a foam gun.
Well,
What safety precautions did you take?
mm-hmm.
Or what are the challenges of using a blower in a tight space?
Right.
They could even ask you to talk about a time you had to fix a problem with a piece of equipment.
So it's not just about knowing the names of the tools, but also being able to use them confidently in different situations and handle problems when they come up.
Exactly. Think about projects where you had to use specific equipment
Okay.
and be ready to describe the process, the challenges, and how you overcame them.
Okay. So a good answer could be,
I know how to use a lot of different insulation equipment, including foam guns, blowers, and cutting tools.
mm-hmm.
I've used foam guns to insulate attics, crawl spaces, and exterior walls.
Okay.
And I know the different types of foam and how to apply them.
Wow.
I've also used blowers to insulate attics and walls in existing buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm good at adjusting the settings to get the right density and coverage.
Yeah.
Once, I even had to fix a blower that was jammed on a job site, and I was able to figure out the problem and fix it quickly.
That's a great example. You're showing your experience in problem-solving skills. And RoleCatcher can also analyze job descriptions to see if they focus on specific equipment skills
Yeah.
and help you tailor your answers for that.
Using RoleCatcher to tailor your answers can make a big difference in showing you're the right person for the job.
I love it. Okay, question number 7, what is it?
Okay, here it is. What is your experience managing insulation projects, including estimating, scheduling, and coordinating with other trades?
Yeah, this sounds like it's about leadership. What are they hoping to learn here?
They want to see if you have the potential to take charge of a project and manage it from beginning to end, which is a big deal for more senior roles.
So they might ask follow-up questions like,
They might ask, how do you estimate material costs and labor for an insulation project?
okay.
Or tell me about a time you had to work with other trades like electricians or plumbers. What were the challenges?
Right.
They could even give you a scenario where a project is delayed or over budget and ask how you'd solve the problem.
So they're looking for someone who can think critically, communicate well, and manage projects efficiently.
Exactly.
Not just someone who can install insulation.
Think about projects where you had some responsibility.
Okay.
Even if it wasn't an official management role, highlight your organizational skills, your ability to work with others, and your problem-solving skills.
So a strong answer might sound like,
I've managed projects of different sizes, from small home renovations to big commercial buildings. I'm good at estimating costs and timelines and always create a detailed schedule.
right.
I also communicate proactively with other trades to coordinate our work and avoid problems.
Yeah.
I once managed a project where we had to change the original insulation plan because of unexpected structural issues.
Oh,
But I was able to adjust the plan quickly, communicate the changes to everyone, and we finished on time and within budget.
that's a great example. You're showing your leadership potential and ability to handle tough projects. And remember, RoleCatcher can help you tailor your responses to the specific skills they're looking for in the job description.
Exactly. Using RoleCatcher to practice your answers can really help you stand out in the interview.
Awesome. All right, question number 8, bring it on.
Here's question number 8. What is your experience working with green building standards, such as LEED or Energy Star?
Ah, sustainability.
Yeah.
That's a big deal these days. What are they trying to figure out with this question?
They want to see if you're up to date on the latest trends in sustainable building,
Okay.
as energy efficiency and the environment become more and more important.
Right.
Employers are looking for insulation workers who get it and can put those standards into practice.
So what kind of follow-up questions might they ask?
They might ask, What are the main principles of OLEI certification?
Sure.
Or how do you incorporate energy efficiency into your insulation work? They might even ask you to describe projects where you've used green building ideas.
So it's not just about knowing the fancy terms, it's about showing that you understand sustainable building practices.
Right. Think about projects where you've used sustainable materials.
Okay.
Or energy-efficient techniques, or tried to create less waste. Be prepared to describe the process and show your commitment to sustainability.
So a good answer might be,
I'm passionate about sustainable building, and I've worked on projects that meet LEED and Energy Star standards. I know the requirements for insulation, our values, air sealing, and moisture control.
okay.
And I always choose materials that are good for the environment and energy efficient.
Yeah.
I worked on a LEED certified home once where we used recycled denim insulation in the walls
Wow.
and spray foam insulation with low global warming potential in the attic.
Cool.
We also made sure to seal up all the air leaks to save energy and make the indoor environment healthier.
That answer really shows you understand green building and that you're committed to it.
Yeah.
And remember, RoleCatcher can see if sustainability is important to the company.
Yeah.
And help you show off your skills in that area.
Using RoleCatcher to practice your answers can help you stand out and show how much you care about sustainable building.
All right. Last question, number 9. Hit me with it.
It's okay. Here's the final one.
Oh.
What is your experience training and mentoring insulation workers?
This one seems like it's for more experienced people. Yeah. Who might be ready for leadership positions. What kind of follow-up questions should I expect?
They might ask, how do you train new insulation workers effectively?
Okay.
Or tell me about a time you had to mentor someone who is struggling with a certain technique. How did you handle that?
Right.
They could even ask you to describe your leadership style and how you build up a team.
So it's not just about doing the job yourself, but also being able to teach and guide others.
Exactly. Think about times when you've trained or mentored colleagues, even if it was informal. Talk about your patience, your communication skills, and your ability to explain complicated things simply.
Okay, so a good answer could be?
I enjoy sharing my knowledge, and I've had chances to train and mentor insulation workers throughout my career. I believe in being patient and supportive.
Yeah.
Breaking down tasks into smaller steps and giving clear examples.
Right.
I also encourage questions and feedback to make sure everyone understands. Once, I mentored an apprentice who was having trouble with spray foam application. We worked together to figure out what was going wrong, and I gave him extra help and practice.
Wow.
He eventually got the hang of it.
That answer shows that you want to help others succeed
Yeah.
and that you can communicate and train effectively.
Yeah.
And again, RoleCatcher can analyze those job descriptions to see if leadership or training is important
Yeah.
and help you highlight your experience.
Using RoleCatcher can really help you shine as a potential leader.
Awesome. Okay, so that's all 9 common insulation worker interview questions. We've got more to cover.
Yes, we do. Now that we've gone through those 9 common questions, let's zoom out a little bit and talk about what a career in insulation work actually looks like.
Okay, yeah, let's dig a little deeper. What are some things from that career guide that would help people understand, the good and the bad of this kind of work?
Well, one of the biggest pros is definitely job security.
Okay.
Like we've been saying, energy efficiency is becoming so important, so that means skilled insulation workers are in high demand.
Yeah, it seems like a really stable career, especially with all these older buildings needing to be updated
Yeah.
with better insulation.
Exactly, and it's not just new buildings. There's tons of work in those existing buildings,
Right.
which makes it even more interesting because you have to solve more problems.
Right.
Plus, it's a job where you're moving around, which is great for people who don't like to be stuck at a desk.
Yeah, you're not just sitting there all day. You're out in the field using your hands and making a real difference.
Right, but let's be honest, no job is perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the downsides? What are some of the challenges that insulation workers face?
Yeah, what are the not so fun parts?
Well, you're often working in small spaces, high places, and sometimes in extreme temperatures.
Oh, wow.
You might be under a house one day and on a roof the next.
Right.
It can be tough on your body.
Yeah, definitely not for everyone. And I imagine there's also some risk from hazardous materials.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to be dealing with insulation materials that need to be handled carefully. So safety is really important.
It sounds like you need to be a certain kind of person to really do well in this job.
Yeah.
Someone who likes physical work, isn't afraid of heights, and is super careful about safety.
For sure. But for a lot of people, the good stuff outweighs the bad. It's a chance to have a stable career, help the environment, and see the results of your work.
That's really cool. So let's say you ace the interview and get the job. What are some career paths you could explore down the line?
Well, as you get more experience, you could move into a supervisor or manager role,
Oh, hey.
leading teams and running bigger projects.
So you could become the insulation boss.
Exactly. You could also focus on a certain type of insulation or industry and become a real expert in that area.
Oh, I like this. And maybe become a spray foam specialist or something?
The possibilities are endless. And if you're entrepreneurial, you could even start your own insulation business.
Wow, that's the dream, being your own boss and running a successful company.
Exactly. But no matter what path you choose, you got to keep learning. New materials and technology are always coming out, so staying up to date is key.
It sounds like a field that's always changing, which is cool,
Yeah.
but it means you have to keep learning new things.
Right. You can go to workshops, get certifications, read industry magazines.
Right.
All that helps you stay ahead of the game. And speaking of staying ahead of the game, let's talk about how RoleCatcher can help you get ready for that insulation worker interview.
Yeah, RoleCatcher is so useful for anyone looking for a job,
For sure.
especially when it comes to tailoring your answers for different companies.
Absolutely.
Ah.
RoleCatcher's AI can analyze job descriptions to see what keywords and skills the employer really cares about.
Okay.
So you can make sure your answers match what they're looking for.
It's like having a cheat sheet for each interview.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of figuring out what the hiring manager wants to hear.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI feedback.
Yeah.
It's like having a virtual coach right in your pocket.
It's super helpful to practice and get feedback on how clear, concise, and relevant your answers are.
Okay, so we talked about the job, the career paths, and how RoleCatcher can help. But what about the actual interview process? Any tips on making a great first impression and standing out?
Great question. First of all, be yourself.
Huh.
Being genuine is super important. Interviewers can spot a fake a mile away.
So don't try to be someone you're not. Just be yourself and let your personality show.
Exactly. Second, do your research. Understand the company's values, their projects, their culture.
Right.
Be ready to explain why you're a perfect fit for their team.
Yeah, it's important to show that you've done your homework and you're genuinely interested.
Absolutely. Third, practice, practice, practice. Go over your answers to common questions. Work on how you deliver them and use RoleCatcher's AI feedback to fine-tune everything.
RoleCatcher's like having a personal interview coach.
Yeah.
It can really help you get better and feel more confident.
Fourth, dress professionally.
Oh, okay.
First impressions are everything, so pick an outfit that's right for the industry and the company.
You don't have to wear a suit, but make sure you look good.
Fifth, be enthusiastic. Show them you're excited about the opportunity
Yeah.
and that you're eager to learn and grow. Enthusiasm is contagious.
It shows that you're passionate about the work and ready to be part of the team.
And finally, don't forget to follow up.
Okay.
Send a thank you note after the interview to show your interest and thank them for their time.
It's a small thing, but it shows you're professional and leaves a good impression.
Okay, those are all great tips.
I feel way more confident about that insulation worker interview now. But before we wrap up part 2, I want to go back to something you mentioned about asking good questions at the end of the interview.
Oh, yeah.
People don't always think about that, but it's important.
You're right. Asking questions shows you're interested and curious.
Right.
And it gives you a chance to learn more about the company, the team, and the job.
So what are some good questions our listeners could ask to impress the hiring manager and learn more?
You could ask about the company's safety practices
Okay.
and how they train their employees on safety. That shows you care about safety and you want to work for a company that values it too.
That's a good one. What about questions about the actual work?
You could ask about the types of projects they do, the challenges they face, and the technologies and materials they use.
Okay.
This helps you understand what the work is like and see if it's a good fit for you.
It also shows you're thinking about the role and want to learn more.
Right.
Anything else you'd recommend?
You could ask about opportunities for professional development and career growth.
Right.
That shows you're ambitious and want to stay with the company long term.
Yeah, it's all about showing that you're committed to the field and want to keep getting better.
And don't forget to ask about the company culture.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
What's it like to work there? It's your chance to get a feel for the environment and see if it's a good match for you.
It's so important to find a job you'll love.
Exactly. Asking good questions helps you get information, but it also shows you're enthusiastic and professional. So come prepared with questions that show you've done your research and you're really interested.
It's a simple way to make a good impression and leave them feeling positive about you.
Exactly.
Okay, those are all great tips. I feel like our listeners are ready to crush that interview and get their dream job.
Me too.
But before we wrap up part 2, I want to mention one more awesome thing about RoleCatcher that can help you prepare.
Oh, yeah, you mean the database of real interview questions?
Exactly. RoleCatcher has collected tons of real questions that companies have asked for installation worker jobs
Right.
and all sorts of other roles.
It's like a sneak peek into the minds of hiring managers.
Exactly. It gives you a sense of what to expect, and you can practice your answers in a realistic way.
And the best part is, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze those questions and give you personalized feedback.
I love that.
So you can see how your answers measure up to what real hiring managers are looking for.
It's a super valuable tool to get better at interviews and make sure your answers are clear, concise, and powerful.
It really is.
So if you want to ace that installation worker interview, definitely check out RoleCatcher's database of real questions.
Yeah, it's an amazing resource that can give you a big advantage in your job search.
I agree. And with that, we've come to the end of part 2 of our installation worker interview prep deep dive.
Make sure to join us for part 3.
Yeah, we'll wrap things up with some final tips and inspiration to help you get that dream job.
Welcome back to our deep dive on getting ready for that installation worker interview we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Understanding the job, those tricky questions, and even potential career paths.
And how RoleCatcher can help you stand out using AI.
Now it's time for the grand finale. Let's give you that final push you need to really conquer that interview and start your installation career.
I'm ready for it. What are your top tips for making a great first impression and getting that dream job?
Well, we've mentioned some already, but it's worth repeating. First of all, be yourself. Authenticity is so important, and interviewers can tell when someone's not being genuine.
All right, so be yourself. Let your personality shine through. Don't try to be someone you're not.
Exactly. Second, do your research. Spend some time learning about the company, their values, their projects, their culture.
Okay.
And be ready to explain why you're a good fit for their team.
It shows you're really interested and that you took the time to learn about them.
Right. Third, practice, practice, practice. Rehearse your answers to those common questions.
Yeah.
Work on how you say things, and use RoleCatcher's AI feedback to make your answers even better.
RoleCatcher is great for that. It can help you fine-tune your answers.
It really can. It's like having a coach right there with you all the time.
Okay.
Fourth, dress professionally. First impressions matter. So choose an outfit that fits the industry and the company culture.
Right. You don't have to go full suit and tie, but you want to look like you're taking it serious.
Exactly. Fifth, be enthusiastic. Show them you're excited about the opportunity, that you want to learn and grow. Enthusiasm can be really contagious, and it makes a difference in how they see you.
It shows you're passionate and ready to be a part of the team.
Right. And lastly, don't forget to follow up. A
Yeah.
simple thank you note after the interview can go a long way. It shows your interest and that you appreciate their time.
Those are all great tips.
Yeah.
I feel like we've covered everything our listeners need to know to really rock that installation worker interview.
I think so too. We've given them the knowledge, the strategies, and the tools to succeed.
And speaking of tools, let's give RoleCatcher one last shout out. It can really change the game when you're looking for a job.
Absolutely. From analyzing job descriptions to giving you feedback on your answers, RoleCatcher uses AI to help you put your best foot forward.
So if you're serious about getting that installation worker job, check out RoleCatcher. It's the best partner you can have on your job search journey.
I agree.
And with that, we've come to the end of our deep dive into preparing for that installation worker interview. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Remember, with the right prep, the right attitude, and the right tools, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. So go out there and make it happen. Good luck.